So now that we're progressing through our content within our course, we've set up a lot of resources that are ways to push information out to the users, but now maybe it's time for a bit of a knowledge check. So one of the biggest used and most widely used activity types now, especially through enterprise clients, is the quiz activity. I suppose the benefits for a lot of companies with the quiz activity is that it self-marks itself. So nearly all the questions, except basically the essay question, will self-mark themselves. So the computer will take care of the marking for you, and it doesn't require a lot of human interaction. So what I'm wanting to do today is add an activity or resource, and I'm going to insert the quiz activity, and we're going to set up just two types of questions just to show you what options there are and sort of help you to find where things are so that you can go and explore further and try out all those other different question types. Once again, you can't break anything. Just give it a go and see what they look like. See how they might find their place within your organization and the things that you're trying to knowledge check on. So with my editing turned on, I'm inside my course, and I'm going to go to add an activity or resource in my knowledge check section here. I'm going to scroll down my activities list, and about 3/4 of the way down there, you'll see the quiz activity. Just like normal, we've got a really great description about the quiz activity and even some little samples about why we might use this activity. And I'm going to click add when I'm ready. Now, setting up the quiz is basically a two-part process. The first part is to set up the quiz container, and we then go inside the quiz and we then go and develop the questions. So just remember, it's a two-part process. That also means there's two different sections that we can edit as well. So there's an edit settings, which brings us to what we're doing here. And there's also then an edit quiz, which takes us to the quiz questions. So just be mindful, for a quiz, it's a two-part process. So what we'll do is we'll call this our knowledge check. And we'll scroll down. We can provide a description. Now this description provides the users with a bit more information. Really, really good to provide things like maybe just an indication about a minimum mark, maybe a minimum amount of time that you expect this to take to complete, maybe just letting them know what it would take for them to complete this quiz. So, they must get 80%, maybe they must answer all the questions, whatever it might be, just so that they have a good understanding about what to expect. Now with the quiz, we can set up timing, so we can be very specific with that. So we can open the quiz at a certain time, close the quiz at a certain time, provide time limits. So I could say that, you must complete this quiz. You're only going to have 30 minutes to complete it. And if I do set timeframes, I can then say, well, what happens when that time expires? Do I want a grace period? Do I want to automatically submit the attempts that have been made already? Or what do I actually want from it? So we have a lot of flexibility around the grading in a quiz. With the timing of a quiz. Now the next section is our grade. Now at the moment, there's not really a lot that we would do here. Because we haven't inserted any questions at all here, the current grade of this quiz is 10 marks. And so if we set the grade to pass anything higher than 10, we're going to get an error message. So generally what we would do here is I generally leave this area blank, and I will come back to it once I've populated the quiz. So once the quiz is out of 80 or whatever it might be, 100, whatever you want, you can then come back and provide that grade to pass mark if it's relevant. Further down here, we have options around the layout of our quiz. So for example, do you want a new quiz question to be provided on every single page? So the user will answer a question and click next, answer the question, click next, and so on. Or do you just want all questions on the one page and it just becomes a scrollable page? Do you want your questions to be in a free navigation order or maybe a sequential order so the user can't vary or deviate off the question 1, question 2, question 3, and so on path? We have some options around question behavior here. Now, just always be mindful with a lot of these options in here. I am clicking the show more button. So there is a show more and show less button. So sometimes if you're sort of looking at options and on your screen, it's not actually there at that present time, it's probably because there is a show more button. And if you click that button, you'll then be able to find that extra information. So it's just usually hiding some settings that might not be the most common settings, but might be really relevant for you in your situation. So shuffle within questions. So for example, if I'm using a multiple choice answer, every time somebody takes this question or these questions, by default, the options will shuffle. So if in my first attempt, the answer to question 1 was option A, in my second attempt, that might have actually moved and it's now option C. So I can't just remember the answers, I actually need to know the content. The next one there is, and this is quite a big decision with what we're going to do with the quiz, is how is the feedback going to be provided? Now, the most common two in this area here is either deferred feedback, meaning that the user isn't going to get any feedback about the questions or their responses, whether they were right or wrong or a grade, for example, until the end of the quiz. The other option is the immediate feedback, which basically means that the user is going to get a check button at the bottom of each question, which they need to click before proceeding to the next one. So before they move to question 2, they will be provided feedback on question 1 and they will know whether they were right or wrong. So you have those two options. So I'm going to pick deferred feedback. We have CBM as well in there, you might see, which is certainty-based marking. So it will ask the user two things. So not only will it ask the user, well, to pick their options, but it'll also ask them about how sure are they on their answer. Now, penalties can be applied. So if they get it, if they're correct and they were very unsure, maybe that's sort of, you might just get a very neutral mark. If they pick the correct answer and they are 100% sure, then they might get extra marks because they were very certain about it. The other ones are sort of looking around how the software handles with multiple tries, what we're going to be able to provide as far as multiple tries go. When we go down to review options, this is basically will change and will customize based on your selection up here about how the questions behave. So for example, if you provide and select immediate feedback, during the attempt, there's quite a lot of things that the user is actually going to find out about, because whilst the attempt is progressing, at the end of each question, they're checking their answer and they're getting that feedback so they know their score, they're seeing their grades at the end of each question. If I change immediate feedback to deferred feedback, you'll notice now that that all grays out because there's no feedback being provided during the attempt at all. Now, if I have a look at this column here that says immediately after the attempt, this means anything within 2 minutes of the quiz closing or the quiz finishing or that person's attempt being completed. So anything within 2 minutes. Later, whilst the quiz is still open, is anything greater than 2 minutes for as long as the quiz is open. And the last one, after the quiz is closed, you will only achieve this status if you set a quiz close date all the way back up here under the timing section. So if you haven't enabled that and you haven't set a close date, then a user will never ever achieve this status or this column here. So it's really up to you what you want to provide the user. If you don't want them to see their marks, simply untick those boxes and the user will never ever see their marks. So you fully customize what the users will see. We have things like appearance, whether or not you want to see the user's profile picture or not. Really good for if you're invigilating these and you want to make sure that the user, the person sitting in front of the computer, matches the profile picture of that user. We have a lot of things around restrictions on extra attempts. So maybe this particular quiz, I'm going to give out the password in an in-class session. So only if you attended the class are you going to know what the password is. So you must provide a password to get in. Maybe I want delays between the first and the second attempts so that somebody can't just quickly go and attempt it a second time. Maybe it's going to force them to have to go and do a bit of extra studies before they can actually go and attempt this. Overall feedback. So this is just some basically percentage boundaries that you can actually then supply feedback for. So it's very generic. It's not specific to the questions. It's specific to the overall grade. So if they got 100%, it might be that you have a very thorough understanding of this topic and so on. So you sort of get that just overall feedback. Common module settings, and these bottom settings here, restrict access, activity completion, are covered in separate videos within our course here. So you can cover off on those if you want to know more. But for the moment, I'm just going to click Save and Return to Course. So just keep in mind, I was talking about the fact that the quiz is a two-part process. So step 1 was to create the quiz container, which we've just done. And now what we want to do is open this quiz and go in and actually create some questions. So I've got 2 different types of questions I want to provide and show you. One is a multiple choice question, And the other, or the second question type I was going to do was a select the missing words question. So there's two types that I will show you in this video. So I'm going to click on knowledge check, the quiz knowledge check here, and open it up. Now on this page here, this is the first time we've been in here, and so far we've only created the container. So we don't have any questions in this quiz yet. So with the quiz open, we want to go into here and click the button that says Edit Quiz. We'll click on that. And this is now where we set up our quiz. So this is where we set up grading, so possible grading options for our quiz. So this is where we set up like the point value for what the quiz is going to be worth. And this is also where we then add our quiz questions as well. So just having a look around here, we see the maximum grade currently is set to 10. But I'm going to say that I've got 2 quiz questions and I might say they're going to be worth 10 each. So I'll say the maximum grade is going to be 20 and I'll click save. Now this can be changed at any time. So if you suddenly say, look, I'm going to have 3 questions and I want them all to be worth 5 each, change it to 15. Maybe the quiz is going to be out of 100 and therefore the maximum grade is 100. So that's fine. You can change this however you want. So it's time to add some questions. We have nothing in here at the moment. So let's click on the little add button. So you'll see the little add here. And I'm wanting to go to new questions. So add a new question. So we'll click on add a new question. And it's a little bit like the activities and resources bar here. We've got lots and lots of options. These are all the question types that you can add into your quiz activity. And as you'll see, it's quite powerful with what we can do. So the first thing I want to do is click on the multiple choice quiz question type. So just like the other one that I was saying, it does provide a description on the right-hand side to tell you about what it does and what its functions are. So multiple choice speaks for itself, and I'm going to click on add. So we'll add this question type. All right, so what I'm going to do, so the category that these questions are going in is into the short name for this course. So these categories, so these questions are being added to the question type for this particular course. That's fine. Now I've got a little Word document here. I had a question that I prepared earlier. So let's just say, because we're talking about inductions and mission statements, we'll say at eCreators, we strive to provide. So we'll use that as our question. So I'm going to provide that as the question name, just so that I actually have that information there and I can easily identify what type of the question it was. And then I'm also going to paste that in as my question text. Now, question text can be made up of anything. It doesn't just need to be text. It can be photos. It can be videos also. So I could say, please watch this video, provide the video below here just by using the tools that we used before in the label activity to embed a video. And I could say, watch this video and then answer these questions. So you can incorporate that. It doesn't just need to be plain text. But anyway, so I'm just going to use text. So I'm going to say, at eCreators, we strive to provide something. Now, our default mark is the maximum possible mark that can be achieved for this particular unit. So that's what the default mark is. So I've got 2 question types to show you, and I'm going to say that they're both going to be worth 10 each. So that's my total mark there. I can provide some general feedback. So this is just any feedback about the question. So it's not whether the user got it right or wrong, it's just general feedback. Now in my one or multiple answers here, I'm going to say that multiple answers allowed. So you can have a multiple choice with only one answer, or you can have a multiple choice with multiple answers. It's totally up to you. Shuffle the choices is already ticked because that's what we set up when we created the container, the quiz container. And then we move down into here, into the answers. Now, as I was saying, I've prepared these already, so I'm just going to copy and paste some of these across. So we strive to achieve, to provide the highest possible quality customer service. We'll scroll down to choice number 2. The second one is best advice industry experts. Scroll down to choice number 3, quality robust. That here, so we'll paste that in. Oops. We'll scroll down to choice 4. We'll say that we strive to provide amazing muffins. Can't go past a good muffin. And we'll scroll down to choice 5 and say great holidays. All right, so here we have a couple of options in there. So I've got 5 choices. Now I have the ability to provide feedback at the end of each choice as well, so that if someone does select that, I can provide individualized feedback for each option. Totally up to you. But the big thing about this quiz question and why I bring this up is that we need to tell Moodle how to distribute the grade. Because I'm saying that there's a maximum of 10 marks that can be achieved here, and I currently have 3 correct answers. Now I have to use up 100% of those 10 marks. So against each choice, where it says grade here, I need to allocate a percentage of that total mark. So I have 3 correct answers. So I'm going to say each correct answer is worth 33.3%, which basically means that the user can get a partially correct answer. So even if they don't get all 3 right, they still can get some points towards the total. So the first 3 questions are right. Amazing muffins and great holidays, whilst they sound wonderful, they're not correct answers. So I actually don't want to give them a point value or a percentage value of that total marks. So I don't actually need to set 0 or anything like that. I can just leave the grade as none, and then I can move on. So that's all I need to worry about. Now you're not stuck with only 5 choices. If you want to create more choices, you can. You can click blanks for 3 more choices. And if you don't use them all, you don't need to delete them. Moodle just automatically ignores any choices that are left empty. So if you add 3 more and you only use 1, that's fine. It just ignores the last 2. Now there are some settings around here just around combined feedback. So providing just a feedback comment for a fully correct answer, a partially correct answer, or an incorrect answer. So you have some options around that. And once we're done, I'm going to click Save Changes. So this is my first question type that has been added into here, and it says, at eCreators we strive to provide. So there's my question. Now I've got all the common Moodle icons here. So I have the little cog if I want to edit the question. I have my little delete button there, it's my little trash can, so I can delete it if I want. And most importantly here, I have my little magnification glass, which is basically a preview button. So if I want to see what this quiz question looks like, I simply click my preview button, and here we go. I'm now looking at a preview. So this is what my multiple choice question might look like. All right, so we'll close the preview. And I'm just quickly going to jump in, and I'm just going to quickly create a second question. And this second question that I wanted to show you and demonstrate was the select missing word. So it's basically going to allow me to grab a missing word from a drop-down box and use that to fill in the blanks. So I'll click on the add button, and we'll say add a new question. I've got lots and lots of options through here. I'm going to scroll down and say select missing words. That'll be the second type I want. Now just quickly before I move off this screen for the last time in this video, the only question that isn't automatically marked, or one of the only questions that isn't, is the essay question type. So the essay question type actually requires a human to come in, mark the question, give a score, and provide some feedback. So it is something that does require human interaction. That is different to the short answer question. The short answer question, the computer will actually mark. So it does actually require the user to actually get the answer right. So a short answer is not, for example, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream? That's not what a short answer is. A short answer is, what is the capital of Australia? Now it needs to be spelt correctly, and you can also choose the ability to turn on or off that it's case sensitive as well. So you have quite a lot of flexible options around that. Anyway, so back to what I was doing. So I want to use the select missing words question type, and I'm going to click add. So in this particular example, I'm going to just open my Word document again, and I'm going to say this is going to be my question type here. So I'm going to say eCreators size. We'll just say that just so I know what the question name is. Now, in this case, because we're selecting missing words, the placeholder for where the missing word is going to be is actually located in the question text itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control paste. So I'm going to paste this in here. So it says eCreators is the world's something Moodle partner. So what is it? And so we're wanting that missing word to be placed into here, and we want that to be a drop-down box with a couple of options in there. So what I'm going to do is, and the trick to here is to press double square bracket. Now that's the key that's beside the P key on your keyboard. So double square bracket, then the number 1, and then close the double square brackets. So that basically now means that I'm going to have a drop-down box in that position there, which is going to give the user the ability to select from that. Now I can add as many of these as I like. So I can go double square bracket 2, maybe in the next paragraph. I can do it at the start, at the end, in the middle. I can have drop-down boxes back to back. It doesn't matter. You can put them in here however you like. Now I scroll down and I say the default mark again because I've got 2 questions and the total is 20, so the default mark is 10, but you have whatever you like. So your default mark is your maximum mark that a user can achieve for this question, and it can be whatever you want. General feedback, just like before, and then we provide the answers to our choices. Now, what's really, really critical here is that I've done double square bracket number 1 and then close double square brackets again. Now, this means that the correct answer to that must be provided in choice 1 because double square brackets 1 is choice 1. So we need to tell Moodle what the correct answer is by locating and matching up choice 1 with choice 1 in that actual question text. So that is going to be the word largest. But I obviously don't want just one choice because that's going to make it too easy. So I'm also going to throw in a couple of other choices as well. So I'll say smallest. I might say tiniest. Let's say, whatever. We'll keep it with just those two. So largest or smallest. We'll just keep it like that. And then obviously you can choose any extras that you want. Now, if you need blanks for 3 more choices, you can. If you don't use them all, doesn't matter. Moodle just ignores what's blank. Like we had before, combined feedback, multiple tries, and tags as well. So I'll click Save Changes, and I'm just going to preview this question quickly so that you can see how this looks. So we now have 2 quiz questions. We have number 1, which is our multiple choice, and number 2, which is our short select answer here. So we're going to go up here. I'll just move this into the window so you can see it. And here it is. This is a really, really simple example, but you get the idea of what it is. So eCreators is the world's what Moodle partner, largest Moodle partner, and away you go. So that's how our select missing word question would work. So that's basically how the quiz works. Check out some of our other videos which sort of talk about some of the other types of quiz questions, also about the reporting options in the reporting sections about what sort of reports we can generate out of the quiz as well. There's lots and lots of cool things that you can do with it. And the limit really is only your imagination. Don't forget, you don't have to just use text only. You can use videos. You can use photos. There's lots of other ways that you can encourage quizzes to become more interactive and more really engaging for the user.